Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be part of my brother's kids' lives? My brother died at 29 roughly 4 years ago. He left behind a wife, 32 female, and 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy, aged 6, 7, and 9. Me and my brother were never close. No, my brother was downright hostile to me. There was significant age difference between me and him, roughly 9 years. I'm currently 24, and I think he was always jealous of me and resented me for being born. I think he had been an only child for too long. Regardless, all my time with him was horrific, and he ruined most of my youth. This did not change when he was an adult either. He did not recognize me as his brother, and would full-on ignore me whenever he was over, even during holidays like Christmas. To the extent where he would buy everyone gifts, from our parents to distant cousins, apart from me. My life improved when he finally moved out. However, our relationship never improved. I was not even invited to his wedding. Not that I minded at the time, to be honest. I was also only told after the fact by my parents when his kids were born, but never met them when he was alive. He ended up getting cancer and passed away a few months after his diagnosis. During this time, according to my family, he was extremely apologetic, regretted his actions, and asked me for quite a lot. I never ended up visiting, and before you ask, no, I do not regret that at all. Regardless, he wrote me a letter which my parents gave me after he died as he had asked them to do. The letter was a long apology, and him imploring me to look after his kids and help his wife. I ended up going to his funeral, mostly to support my parents, where I met his kids and wife. Since that moment, I have had his wife reach out to me a lot over the years asking me to help. Babysit, spend time with her kids, you name it. I've always declined/ignored it. At this point, my parents also got involved, imploring me to help out, as I am the only young male role model these kids will ever have. Brother's wife does not want to remarry, has no male relatives. It might add is in his 70s. Of course, they know what my brother wanted and care for their grandkids, so I get where they're coming from. And I do feel bad about it. I just want to see what people from the outside think. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Relationships need to be fostered, even familial ones. None of them can expect you to take on the role of uncle when they were all complicit in your brother's behavior of outright ignoring you and excluding you from his own family. Well, I don't blame his kids for that, just to be clear. Of course not. However, the wife and your parents allowed this to go on. I think it's wrong of them now to push or expect you to now play the uncle role. It struck me that Opie said when his former sister-in-law reaches out for him to help somehow or to babysit. If that is an accurate description of what's being asked of him, I think it's crappy and one-sided. Not the a-hole. I wonder why your parents didn't intervene on his behavior towards you earlier. You are an adult, and it is your life, your choice. They're very peacekeeper-ish. I'm not trying to make it okay, but between my brother and his kids and me, I can see why they try to keep everyone close instead of just picking sides. But I certainly think they let my brother get away with way too much. I agree, and that is the problem. Sometimes a person needs to speak up for people being bullied. The silence enables them. I agree, and my relationship with my parents is not the best, in large part due to the past. But as I said, I get where they came from at the time. Next story. Am I the a-hole for walking out of my husband's birthday dinner when his sister was complaining about her fertility? My husband's parents threw my husband a birthday dinner at their home last Saturday. During dinner, his sister announced she was pregnant with her 6th child. Everyone congratulated her, and my husband grew quiet. He and I have been trying for a baby for 7 years now. It only just saved the money for IVF. Once the commotion about the new member of the family settled, my sister-in-law started her usual commentary on how much it sucks to be so fertile, and how she feels like she'll just never be able to stop having kids because the pill and contraceptive injection both failed, and how she's not a good fit for an IUD. By the time she pointed out she's been pregnant so often that they don't even need to have full action anymore for her to get knocked up, I couldn't take it anymore, and I walked out. My husband followed me, and I could see he was holding back some tears too. He apologized for saying nothing. I said he didn't need to, that he was obviously struggling too. By the time we made it home, his parents had called to say how sorry they were, and how none of that was meant to happen. His sister, on the other hand, called me a killjoy and a drama queen, and she told me it was rude to walk out after all her parents' hard work and for spoiling the celebration of a pregnancy. I hung up on her. I want to cry because her words stuck in my head. Since then, she and my husband got into a fight because she called me selfish and said I made a dinner about me instead of them. I wish I could feel she's totally wrong, but I worry she's right. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Wait, you spoiled the celebration for the pregnancy? Funny, I could have sworn it was a celebration for your husband's birthday. Definitely not the a-hole. She basically brought an FU to her brother's birthday instead of a gift. And doubled it, between stealing the limelight and bragging that her husband can get her knocked up easily. Not the a-hole. It was a birthday dinner for your husband. Not a me, I'm pregnant again, it's all about me. I think she did it to ruin your dear husband's celebration, and they should have said something to her. Not the a-hole. The next time she says something, ignore the hell out of her. Not the a-hole. 1. Tell her husband to get a vasectomy. 2. I wish you guys the best with IVF. It's a very long emotional process, and I wish you nothing but all the happiness in the world. Not the a-hole. It wasn't a dinner to celebrate her pregnancy. It was your husband's birthday dinner, but she made it about her. Right. Massive projection for her to accuse Opie of making the dinner about her. I don't think the sister can see past the tip of her own nose. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not hosting a baby shower for my estranged daughter-in-law? I think a bit of background may be required for this one. I, a 60 female, have 2 sons and a daughter. The people in question here are Dave, 35, and his wife, Liz, 29. Basically, I have a relationship with Dave, but none at all with Liz. Dave was married before and has 2 children, 11 male and 9 female, with his ex-wife, Cassie. Cassie unexpectedly died in January 2020, about 2 weeks before Dave and Liz's wedding. Liz and I had a falling out over the children attending the wedding. They said they did not want to attend, but Liz demanded they be in the wedding despite the fact they had just lost their mother and could have stayed with Cassie's parents that day. Dave gave in to Liz's demand, and the kids attended. Then Liz says they ruined the wedding when they refused to walk down the aisle and then cried at the reception. I defended my grandchildren's behavior because they were grieving, and Liz was very angry that I did not try harder at the wedding to get them to behave. They were in my care for the day. After the wedding, Cassie's parents and my husband and I started taking our grandchildren more often because they did not want to be at Dave and Liz's house. My son works long hours, so they would mostly have to be with Liz. Liz does not like that we pick up our grandkids when they call us, and maybe we are undermining her parenting, but she does often fail to cook dinner, take them to therapy or after-school activities. She is now expecting a baby in November and will be having a baby shower in a few weeks. I was not invited, but I have not told any of my extended family about the issue with Liz, or the fact that I was not attending because I feel like my family is also Dave's family and can form their own opinions. Recently, word got out that I would not be there. I'm not sure how, and family started to question. The reason got out there, and my family is now very angry with both Dave and Liz. They are refusing to attend the baby shower, and I guess the guest list went from over 60 to under 20. Liz and family have decided they are fine with us because they do not have to pay for as many guests. But now Liz has called my daughter and demanded that we, daughter and I, host a shower for her. And she might stop by if she is feeling up to it, but will come to pick up the gifts after the shower to show the family that we are all on good terms. Not actually true. I might be the a-hole because we declined. And now that people know we are estranged, I am sort of happy that I don't have to pretend to like her anymore. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your daughter-in-law sounds super entitled. Who the heck demands a baby shower from anyone? Yikes. The same person who made 2 grieving children go to a wedding 2 weeks after their mom died, and then got upset that they were crying at the wedding. The real question is, why doesn't the father protect his own children from this woman? Not the a-hole, and frankly, your son is no peach either the way he treats those kids. Yes, he is an enabler to all of her problematic actions. I am most disgusted by the fact that he chose to force the kids to attend the wedding instead of dropping Liz. He chose Liz over the well-being of the kids. Both of them should not have custody of the kids. I hope Opie can get custody of the grandkids. Especially since it sounds like Liz is neglecting them. What kind of parent, buy or step, Is it okay with an adult trusted to watch kids forgetting to cook them dinner, or bring them to therapy, or get them to after-school activities? Especially as kids who have lost a parent. Those are all very important for the emotional health of the kids. Not stay home. Who forced children into a wedding after their parent died? Then neglect them. She only wants you to do that so she can cover up her mistakes, like being super disrespectful to you. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for walking out of my sister's baby shower party after she had me babysit the kids? My brother and his wife are expecting their 5th child together. Last week, her sister threw a kids-friendly baby shower party that was sent an invitation. I, 21, looked at the date, and even though I had an upcoming exam but also not close with my brother's in-laws, I decided to make time to attend since my sister-in-law wanted me there so badly. I arrived at the party and there were plenty of kids. I took a seat and watched as the kids made huge noise and disrupted the party atmosphere. That includes sister-in-law's kids, of course. Sister-in-law and her sisters were becoming frustrated. That's when sister-in-law took all the kids upstairs and told me to follow her. She had them go into the guest room and asked me to watch them for a few minutes till she returns. I told her thanks, but I wasn't up for it. She said, just 5 minutes, silly. Don't act like kids are terrifying creatures. So I said, okay, 5 minutes. She shut the door and was gone for 5, then 10, then 12 minutes. The kids were already making noise. So I called her phone and she told me she was coming. I waited 5 minutes, then another 5. I went downstairs to speak to her, but she saw me, pulled me aside, and told me to go back upstairs and watch the kids. I said, why? I'm here for the party, not to babysit. She insisted and pressured me, which made me upset, so I told her no. I wasn't going to be stuck in a room with over 13 kids to babysit while she and family have fun downstairs. I'm not even good with children. Yes, I love my nieces and nephew, but managing over 13 kids is a lot, and is not an easy task for someone like me. I took my jacket and I said I was leaving. She begged me to come back, but I just walked out. My brother was livid as she told him I walked out, and he said I shouldn't have, and called me unsupportive and negative to walk out the way I did and embarrassing his wife in front of guests. I told him about the 13 kids she set me up to babysit, and reminded him I had important stuff to do but still found time to attend, just so she could isolate me in a room while she celebrates? Now he and my parents wanted me to apologize for my rudeness and for messing up the event for sister-in-law. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. First, after 5 kids? Who has a baby shower? Second, they should have made plans for childcare if they wanted a kid-friendly shower. And that doesn't mean you. Everyone else is the a-hole here. But not you. This. Not an a-hole. Having a shower for a 5th baby is insane. But then expecting you to be free childcare without even asking is ludicrous. If they wanted adult time to celebrate the new baby coming and enjoy each other's companies, then they should have had the husbands watch the kids, or hired some young teenagers to keep them occupied. Right. What could you possibly need when you already have that many kids? No one in their right mind wants to watch 13 kids, even if you love them. Not an a-hole. No one wants to get stuck watching a dozen kids for free instead of being a guest at a party. If they want you to be the sitter, they should have asked you, paid you, and had an assistant for you. I'm pretty sure there is no babysitter in the world willing to babysit 13 random kids of all different ages in one tiny room, no matter what to pay. If that person exists, they deserve a medal and hazard pay. Not an a-hole. If it's a kid-friendly party, then in my opinion there are 2 choices. 1, you arrange the entertainment/care for the kids, or 2, everybody tames and keeps an eye on their own kiddos. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving a family gathering because my family made me sit at the kid table? For context, I haven't seen my full family together in quite some time, so they set up a get-together at a park today. The family gathering includes me, 22 male, my brother 21, my sister 25, her husband 29, and their 2 kids, my dad, stepmom, their kids 6 and 9, aunt, uncle, my 2 cousins 15 and 20, then grandma and grandpa. I get there with some picnic items. I brought a quiche and the cups, and see a few members setting up. I say hi, and help set up the tables and set the food out. We talk and play games while the others show up. When everyone gets there, we sit down to eat. I sit next to my dad, then gets a weird look from my aunt as she says to me, "This is the adult's table." To which I reply, "I am an adult?" She then tells me that the first and second generations are considered adult, and the third and fourth generations should sit at a kid's table, since we don't have much to contribute to adult conversations. I tell her that I can drink, that I drove here, that I pay and have a job. So how am I still considered a child? She says that until I have kids of my own, I'll have to sit at a kid's table. According to my aunt, there are 8 children, ages 6 to 22, and 8 adults, ages 25 to 75. So I should just sit at a kid's table since it'll be even. But there's plenty of space at the adult table, and I don't want to be stuck with 5 literal children. She still disagrees. And at this point, my uncle and grandparents back her up. So I say, screw it. Take my quiche back, tell them to have a nice day, and drive away. I get a few texts telling me to come back by my dad and grandparents. He asks if aunt is going to apologize, and they ask for what? That was enough for me to disregard their other messages and calls until I got home, where I am now. I feel horrible that I may have possibly ruined a nice family gathering, but feel my family doesn't respect me at all enough to say that I am still a child, and apparently have the same mentality as 6-year-olds. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I love you took your quiche with you too. It tastes sweeter for some reason. Not the a-hole. Your aunt is totally an a-hole. They probably want you at the kids' table to play babysitter. I would have left too, to be honest. I'm surprised my brother accepted it too. He's 21. I understand my cousin's situation though, since she's my aunt's daughter and it's not like she's going to talk back. If I stayed, there would have been 3 people over 20 at the kids' table. What? You're really sure he accepted it? Rather than he was too cowed to speak up, so he kept the peace. Probably. I'm not upset nobody spoke up. Just that it was apparently an issue to my aunt. People should be able to sit wherever they want. The division of tables between kids and grown-ups is really dumb in the first place the more I think about it. I think it's just about not being at the kids' table more than anything, which I guess is what prompted me to want to sit at the adult table in the first place. First story is titled, Update. Am I the a-hole for pouring my husband's sweet tea down the drain? Original story. I lost my part-time job due to COVID and I've basically become a little housewife. I'm fine with that, as that's always been my role in my relationship anyways. It's just less hard to keep up with now. I'm also in school for nursing, but obviously I'm doing that from home. My husband works full-time and works hard. His commute to work is very long, over an hour each way. We go running together every day, and because I know it's a lot of stress for him, we meet 20 minutes away from our home so he doesn't have to come home and drive back out. He calls me when he's 20 minutes away and I leave. Today, I was 7 minutes late as I had to turn off all the lights and get myself together before leaving the house. When I got there, he coped a major attitude with me for being late. Refused to even speak to me. For being 7 minutes late. I tried to explain that I had to put my shoes on and turn out the lights, but he wouldn't talk to me. The run was very awkward, and when we got home, he said that he felt he had every right to be angry and stomped off upstairs. I've had a lot of pent-up feelings about the fact that he has always expected me to be at his beck and call. It's like he thinks the whole world revolves around his time schedule because I lost my job. Anytime he's hungry, thirsty, he yells my name. He doesn't even serve his own plates anymore. It's like he thinks I just sit in the dark with my hands folded, waiting for him to call. At this point, I knew he was being ridiculous, and I was just so upset that I did something that may make me the a-hole. When he came downstairs, I told him that he could make his own dinner, his own lunch tomorrow for work, and I looked him straight in the eyes. I poured a pitcher of sweet tea I make him every week down the drain. And I said, "You can make your own freaking sweet tea too, you ungrateful brat." And I walked out and drove to my mom's house. So, am I the a-hole for that overreaction? I was just so annoyed. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. I felt like the everybody sucks crowd had a point, until I saw he's 31 and you're 19, and he specifically wanted a housewife. Look, age gap relationships can work out fine and be perfectly healthy, provided the older partner treads with care. He has an obligation to be especially mindful, patient, kind, and to make your needs and comfort the focus of the relationship. He should be letting you guide everything, following your lead, and not concerning himself with what he wants. Otherwise, he's just an exploitative creep. No. 19 and 31 is never gonna be okay. That means at 30 he went out and found a girl that was legal by the skin of her teeth and married her as fast as he could. That is so deeply not okay. I mean, clearly this dude was looking for a hot young bang maid, but I don't see any scenario where a 30-year-old can go after an 18-year-old without being a creep. Typically, when people do creepy stuff like that, it's because they can't get a person in their own age group, because there is something troubling about them. It sounds like this dude has major low self-esteem and insecurity issues. I am a year younger than this guy. I would run for the hills once I saw a red flag that intense. Same with the expecting a subservient housewife. Okay, so there's a lot here. Girl, you're 19. You and this man are not equals. He thinks of you more as a maid than as a partner, and that's not going to change. You've got a whole life to live, and you can't limit yourself to serving an older man who doesn't care about you forever. Leave. Find a job, even a crappy one for now. Find local food pantries. If you can't afford a cheap place right now, try to stay with friends. You are worth so much more than this. Nothing wrong with being a housewife, but only in a fair partnership, which this is clearly not. Go live your life, not an a-hole. Please leave before he locks you down with babies. I was going to say you probably overreacted a little bit, but then I saw that you are 19 and is 31. Of course you overreacted. You were still just a kid at that point, who was spotted by a 30-year-old man as being vulnerable. He has groomed you and placed you in exactly the position he wanted. A young girl he can sleep with and keep tied to the house and to him. He got mad about 7 minutes because he is training you to be scared of letting him down at all, or be even 7 minutes late to something. So by getting angry, he expected you to roll over like the dog he thinks you are and beg for forgiveness. It must have been a shock to him that you didn't do that, and I'm honestly very concerned about you going back to that house where he could possibly punish you. Please be careful. Now for a little update. I deleted my edits because I wanted to do an update, as I see a lot of kind, wonderful people so concerned about my well-being. I want to thank each and every one of you for being so supportive. I don't have any friends anymore, and all the messages and comments have made me feel like I have a support group. For now, I'm staying at my parents' indefinitely. My mom is helping me write a list of all the reasons I'd want to stay and all the reasons I'd like to leave. I have always been a very independent person, and I think I've been lying to myself about my situation for a long time. I called him to tell him I wouldn't be coming home, and he didn't really seem to care much, which did hurt a lot. Either way, I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to get my degree. For those of you concerned about kids, don't worry, I have an IUD. Again, thank you all so much. Your love and support means more to me than I can express. Now for a full update. So, it's been a few days since my original post. Everyone was so kind, helpful, and supportive. I received so many messages, and I want to thank each one of you for them. They meant more to me than you know. Well, I've left my husband, and it really wasn't over this one incident, but really a buildup of many. Before I even made a post, I wasn't completely blind to what he had been doing in terms of control. As weird as it seems, sometimes I just forget I am an adult, and I don't have to just yes sir and listen to any man that's older than me. I'm an adult now. I make my own rules. I feel sick saying this, but I realize I had been viewing him as a parental figure and not a partner. It kind of makes my stomach twist to even type that, but that is what it is. I don't really want to analyze it right now. It's too gross. I'm honestly going through a really tough grieving time right now. I feel like such a failure. What's worse is that he does not care in the least. When I called him to tell him I was leaving, he said, "Okay, let me know when you want to grab your stuff. We can have you moved out ASAP." And that was it. That was all he said before he hung up the phone. I'm really hurting. I loved him so much, and I think part of me just wanted to see if he was willing to fight for me and apologize. He was not, so that's that. But although I'm hurting, I feel free. My mom has welcomed me back. She's so happy I am divorcing him. I got together with my friends who he wouldn't let me see. I watched TV shows he told me were too childish, And I've been wearing ugly sweatpants and oversized t-shirts that he always said made me look like a man. So thank you, all of you. I got a wake-up call I desperately needed. I don't even want to be a housewife. I never wanted that for me. No hate on anyone who does. Honestly, guys, it was hard and lonely work. I'm going to be a registered nurse and then move on to my master's. You've all encouraged me in the best way possible. Now for some top comments. Oof, I was just about to ask what the age difference was. Female 19, male 31? Thank God you hadn't invested more time in that relationship. I'm so glad to hear you're starting to find your way to a better place. Bruh, and they're married. That means he knew her before. What the hell? That creepy cheap a-hole. Instead of paying for a goddamn housekeeper, he hung around high school kids to nab himself a housemate he could sleep with. When someone who is 31 is dating/married to a literal teenager, it's because no one within their generation could stand them. You are so much not a failure for leaving. It's great that you recognized the abuse and removed yourself from that situation. As for his reaction, he's trying to trigger you into going back to beg for his love. It's just more manipulation. All the best to you. Thank you. I have already made a decision to not see him unless my parents are with me, just in case I have a moment of weakness. Every day is getting easier. Good for you. Please get legal advice now before you move your stuff/return the key, especially if the house is marital property. Not a lawyer. Not sure if it matters, but I would want to check with a lawyer first for that very reason. Don't let him get out of this marriage with more than his share just because it's easier now. You may regret it later, and you deserve to start this new phase of your life with your head held high. He's very much about appearances, so most likely the divorce will be quiet. I don't think he'd try to pull any spiteful moves, especially since he loves his reputation. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that it is ridiculous to complain about my mom playing favorites? My mom and my wife do not like each other. I'll assign 60% of the blame to my mom because she is difficult, and 40% to my wife because she escalates things. I get that isn't how life works, but I'm just trying to explain that they have been both horrible to each other. My mom wants very low contact with my wife and tries to see me when she isn't around. My mom said when my wife was pregnant, to me in private, that she knew we would probably keep the baby from her if she didn't work in things with my wife. I said I didn't like her phrasing. But yes, if you can't respect the mother, don't expect much of a relationship. My mom said then that is her choice, and she doesn't want much of a relationship. My wife sees my mom about once a month. My mom is nice and polite to my son, now 5, but not really interested, never offers to babysit or asks about him when he isn't around. My mom has a 6-year-old with my stepdad, and my wife has always claimed she favors her. I mean, it's her daughter. In my opinion, she is allowed to care more about her own daughter than someone else's kid. My wife complains that my mom is very maternal and affectionate with my sister but shows little interest in our son. She brought it up at lunch the other day with her parents, who hate my mom, and I said it is ridiculous that she considers it favoritism when one is her child and the other one isn't. My mother-in-law called me cold and insensitive and said she loves our son just as much as my wife or her brother. I mean, I was raised by someone who is proud of being cold, so maybe I am. My wife got mad at me in private for calling her ridiculous and also said my opinion is wrong and I should be more worried about this favoritism. Now for the top comments. Not a a-hole. Wife. I don't want your mom to have a close relationship with our child. Your mom. Okay. Wife. Shocked Pikachu face. Also, what on earth? Your wife thinks your mom should treat her own daughter, who she has a responsibility for, the same as her grandchild? She's being ridiculous. Reading the post again, it seems like the mom preemptively decided to not have a close relationship with her grandson because she didn't want to get along with Opie's wife. That doesn't change the fact that a mother has more responsibility to her own child than the children of others, but the cold relationship towards her grandson appears to be 100% the mom's doing. Let me make sure I have this straight from you, Opie, in the comments. 1. Your wife regularly tries to goad your mother into reacting by rubbing on your mom without her consent after being repeatedly asked to stop, as well as pulls childish pranks like licking cakes your mom was making for someone else. You find this behavior acceptable because your mom's general demeanor is sulky and aloof. 2. Your mom asks about how she will be able to have a relationship with your son given how things are with your wife. You told her to not expect a relationship with your son unless your mother respected your wife, who repeatedly violates your mom's boundaries and assaults her. 3. Your mom recognizes that both you and your wife are clearly using your son as a power play. She decides not to play your game, accepts the fact that she won't have a relationship with your son, and then behaves accordingly. 4. Your mom has her hands full with a 6-year-old child already, and you are upset she doesn't offer to babysit your son? The person neither you nor your wife want him to have a relationship with because your mom won't put up with your wife's BS. 5. You get together with your wife and her parents where criticism of your mom is an acceptable topic of discussion. When you do decide to pipe up, it is only to say that it is ridiculous to complain that your mom would care more about her own child than her grandchild, completely ignoring the actual reason why your mom doesn't have a relationship with your son. 6. Your wife, backed up by her parents, has found a new angle to criticize your mom and is now goading you into addressing this favoritism. Everyone sucks here. Your wife for regularly assaulting your mom and being a bully. You for acting like actions don't have consequences and letting your mom bear the brunt of your wife's shenanigans, particularly with acting like the favoritism is merely biological instead of a direct result of your actions. Your mom for being so petty about the relationship barrier that she won't even ask about how your son is doing and is purposely cold towards a 5-year-old who can't understand adult relationship dynamics. Your mother-in-law for the one-upping. You all sound exhausting. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for rudely correcting my husband's friend after he repeatedly called me his girlfriend? So I will start this off by saying my husband and I got engaged and married young. We've been married 4 months. I'm 22 and he's 24, and we got engaged at 20 and 22. Throughout our engagement, people always downplayed it, acted like it wasn't a real engagement, and people were surprised when we announced we had gotten married. I always felt like people thought we weren't a serious couple, so it's definitely a sore spot for me, and it still is. Which is why I think I could be the a-hole here because I'm being sensitive. I recently encouraged my husband to make more friends, and after a while of talking to this guy, we decided to go on a double date. The guy's girlfriend couldn't come, so it was just us and him, which is awkward. He starts asking questions about us and repeatedly refers to me as my husband's girlfriend. Both my husband and I corrected him a couple times, and he would apologize but keep doing it. Finally, after a few times I go, "Dude, I'm not his freaking girlfriend, I am his wife." And I flash both our wedding rings. We soon say goodbye after that, and he texts my husband and says he doesn't think they were compatible and that I was really rude. My husband isn't mad at me, but he is disappointed and I feel bad. I should have just kept my mouth shut. That's why I feel like I'm the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Meh, sounds like he had it coming. Weird that he kept using the word girlfriend and not, your name, when you were both at the table. Was he ignoring you and speaking directly to your husband? Does your girlfriend want to order an appetizer, etc.? That is exactly it. He never directly spoke to me. Well, bullet dodged. Not the a-hole. This seems like some passive-aggressive behavior to me. It's not like he knew you guys as boyfriend and girlfriend. You just met him. So he's only known you as married, was introduced to you as married. It's really weird to constantly refer to you as girlfriend when he just met you as a wife. I know I have an issue with my boyfriend's friends that are similar. I have been with him almost a decade, and anytime I'm around and someone new comes around, I'm introduced as ex's girlfriend. And I'm like, please guys, it's been a decade. I have a name. We don't hang out with them anymore though, so we see where that got them. Lol. Not the a-hole. I hate people who think that just because someone gets married/engaged young, like, yeah, sure, they're like 21 to 24, but like, just let them get married if they love each other. Jeez. Sorry you had to deal with that, OP. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for getting my boyfriend expelled? I, 23 female, have been with my boyfriend Chad, 22 male, since I was 15. We were planning on getting engaged next year, and I'm pregnant. But now we're on the edge of a breakup and I'm starting to feel like it's my fault. Fall 2021. I took a world history class and finished it with the highest possible grade. Chad isn't so great with history, so he asked if he could see my final reflection paper to look over my phrasing, double-check his MLA format, etc. I said sure, shared it with him, and didn't think too much about it until I got an email from my old professor. She asked me if I knew Chad. I told her I did, and she explained that he had turned in my paper from last semester. I was furious and confused. She apologized and said that she had to report both of us, but she would say she didn't think I meant for him to plagiarize my work. I got called down to the dean's office, and it was explained that if I was found guilty of letting him plagiarize my work, I would be expelled. So this whole semester would be meaningless since finals are in May, and I'd have to pay back my scholarship. I immediately went, I can prove he was just supposed to look at it for structure, and showed them all the text of him asking to see it for comparison, thanking me because I explained the format in a very detailed way, sent him other papers online with similar structure, etc. They asked for my phone, to which I said no, but I'd email them screenshots. Chad was called down next, and they told him what I had said. He was suspended and expelled like a week later. He doesn't have a scholarship to back though, and he's transferring to a community college. He's furious and insisting that he just accidentally turned in mine instead of his. I told him that I never said he turned in mine on purpose. I just was able to prove that I didn't intend for him to plagiarize me. He's packing up his stuff and saying he's going to move back in with his parents and, well, figure things out. The assistant dean contacted me to officially clear me of any involvement. But she did tell me that this isn't the first time he's plagiarized me, after a harder look at some of his other work this semester. She mentioned that it was a crime, but I didn't want to press charges or anything, so I told her I didn't need to report of their findings. I'm crushed and feel used. He said I should have said it was an accident instead of just defending myself, and so do several of our friends since they say that I don't know for sure, and I'm about to have his kids, so I should put our relationship above everything else. I'm basically isolated now. I have one friend in my family who agree with what I did. So I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I don't know if plagiarism is a crime or not. I was just repeating what the ad said. I haven't looked into it since I wouldn't press charges anyways. But she said it's a form of theft since one of my papers was featured in a magazine. I'm in Texas, if that matters. Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Not day home. This guy put you in jeopardy and damn near got you expelled despite being totally innocent. If he were any kind of man or had any sense of honor or loyalty, when he got caught, he should have fell on his sword and said, "It was all me. I broke into her computer. She had nothing to do with it." Instead, he tried to drag you down. This is not a suitable person to have in your life, much less a partner. It's better if you both take the fall for my accident. Before Opie said there was a history, I didn't believe for a second it was an accident. Indeed. Plus, when the college investigated further and found more evidence of him pulling this stunt, Opie would have been banged up as an accomplice if she would have tried to cover for him with this ridiculous story that nobody would buy. If he just accidentally turned in the wrong paper, how did it get his name on it? Aside from being a snake and not giving a hoot about dragging Opie down with him, he's also kind of an idiot. Never enter into a plot with a moron. It will be a fiasco every time. Not stay home. If Chad has done this before, then it wasn't an accident. You didn't get Chad expelled. Chad got himself expelled. His actions also could have gotten you expelled if you hadn't been able to prove that you hadn't allowed him to copy your paper. Honestly, I strongly suggest you break up with him. I know it will be more complicated with a baby coming, but you should not be with someone so callous about your future. Yes, she literally did nothing but clear her own name. He wants her to take the fall with him, and that's utterly unreasonable, given that he's been pilfering her work and turning it in as his own for a while. Little update. Thanks everyone. I'm surprised and thankful for all the responses. Chad has been making me think anytime I'm upset/angry, it's the pregnancy hormones. So I have been doubting myself a lot lately. I'm notifying my landlord since it's a monthly lease and taking my mom's offer to move back in with my parents. He's pissed and is now saying this is proof I've been cheating and the baby isn't his since I'm moving out, even though he started packing first. So he's saying he won't help with anything until a paternity test. Luckily, all the baby stuff is at my mom's because I left it there after we went on a shopping spree, so he can't take/sell it. His mom is threatening to sue me for full custody of the baby if it does turn out to be his. My dad is checking to see if my uncle knows anyone who does these kinds of cases, because he's a lawyer but doesn't handle that kind of thing. Thanks everyone. I'm overwhelmed, but I think I'll be okay. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband off for expecting me to prepare his bags? My husband works full-time while I'm a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids. He splits childcare 40-60, but lets me handle all of household chores, from cleaning, cooking, vacuuming to shopping and whatnot, saying it's my duty in replacement of work hours. We were okay with these arrangements, but days ago, his mom invited him to his sister's wedding. She didn't invite me because the wedding is allegedly child-free, but I guessed it was because of a fight we had 4 months ago over what school my eldest should attend. I was hurt since I love sister-in-law, but my husband said his mom is basically paying for the wedding and the list she had for the uninvited is longer than the one she had for the invited. He advised me not to get too worked up over it and just focus on kids while he's gone. The night before his flight, he asked that I put his things together and tossed me a list of what he needed. I gave it back and said I won't do it. He was puzzled, asking why. I told him I was tired and went upstairs to sleep in the bedroom. Moments later, he barged in calling me petty for basically refusing to help him pack just because I wasn't going to. He said, "Your problem is with my mom, not me." I asked him why should I prepare his bags. He said because he's busy and because I always do it. I said yes, but why should I do it this time? He said because of 4 letters SAHM and it's essentially part of my household chores. I told him off, said I won't do it, end of story, and went back to sleep. He threw a 3-minute fit, then walked out, then came back and turned the light on at 3 a.m. to pack, preventing me from sleeping. I told him this was pathetic. He said he's no match to how petty I am and ignored when I told him to turn the lights off repeatedly. He went to the wedding. Now he's back looking agitated most of the time and keeping on complaining about the stance I took. Am I the a-hole for not preparing the bags? Not the a-hole. Your husband's been treating you like crap for a long time. A stay-at-home mom with 3 kids should not be doing 100% of household chores. And packing up your husband's clothes is not a household chore. That's basic taking care of yourself. He is essentially claiming that he is one of the children and you're his mommy too. Also, not inviting you because the wedding is child-free? You're not a child. He doesn't stand up for you to his family and treats you like a maid. It's not a good look. And couldn't they have hired a babysitter or asked a friend or relative from her side to watch the kids? But the husband didn't care. It should be up to the OP and husband to decide if they can find childcare and make it work. To simply not invite without an explanation is a telltale sign that the child-free zone is not a legit reason to not receive an invite. You are his wife, the mother of his children, not an indentured servant. Y'all need therapy and you need an exit strategy. Not a-hole. You sure wouldn't know it from the way he treats her. This is how my ex was. Only, I make more money than you do, so you have to make up the difference, was his position until he made me quit working. Not a-hole. In my opinion, he shouldn't have even gone to the wedding. But again, my opinion. Stay-at-home mom doesn't spell out servant. You do household chores. That doesn't include packing for a trip you aren't taking. You aren't his mother, a babysitter, etc. And like I said, he shouldn't be going while you weren't invited, and expecting you to pack for him on top of it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend to pay for my mother's surgery costs because he has too much money? I will make it very short. No need for any details because I'm so exhausted. My boyfriend works an excellent job that brings him so much money. He works as a computer engineer, and he has money more than he needs. My mom is having surgery the next month, and it's very important, but neither of us has enough money. I have been dating my boyfriend for a year now, by the way. I told him that he should help mom because he has more money than he needs, but he refused, and he said that he's not going to pay thousands and thousands of his money for mom. I got angry at him and told him that he shouldn't expect me to pay for him then if it happens and he needs surgery one day. He called me immature and I stormed off. I just don't get him. We are partners. Shouldn't he help me through sickness and all that's bad? I would have definitely helped him with money if I were in his shoes in this situation. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. Not your money, not your choice. Also, you don't get to decide who has too much money. You can tell him to pay and you're the a-hole. It is entirely up to him whether he wants to do so or not. You're the a-hole. You've been dating less than a year and you expect him to take on a huge financial burden for your family. It doesn't make sense. You are not entitled to his money. I can see her using him as a light bank while demanding she gets the best treatment. What does she even do for him? It's not even listed if she truly loves him, etc. Sheesh. I predict a breakup in the horizon. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. He should dump you immediately. His money is not your money. This entitlement test would quickly expand to all your other expenses. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share our nanny on vacation and potentially canceling the trip over it? My 33 female husband, 35 male, grew up with younger siblings. However, he also had two older half-brothers, 43 and 46 male, from his dad's first marriage. He wasn't close to them growing up. They didn't even live in the same state. But 43 male recently moved to a nearby area with his family and wants our families to be BFFs. His kids are about the same age as ours, 11, 8, and 3. We do an Airbnb vacation every year with our kids, 12, 8, 6, 2, and our nanny Lauren. Having Lauren there means we can spend more time with the kids one-on-one. They get to do more of what they want to do. There's someone to take the baby back to the house when she gets overstimulated. And yes, occasionally my husband and I can have a dinner out alone. In addition to the 7 of us, my husband's brother, 29 male, usually comes along as well. We don't expect him to babysit, but he's still sort of around for the kids and have another set of hands. This year, 43 male also want to come so our family could bond. But we've had issues at different points during the planning. For example, we were looking at Airbnbs. What we would usually do is a master bedroom, 1 to 2 rooms for the kids, a room for Lauren, and then 29 male on a pull-out couch. Sister-in-law really wanted to put Lauren in with the kids, which I felt like was inappropriate. Second of all, it became clear as we've approached this trip that sister-in-law expects to be able to use Lauren as well. For example, I said on our first morning, husband and I were taking 12, 8, 6-year-old on the sailing activity while 2-year-old stays with Lauren. And she said, great, I think we'll take 11 and 8-year-old into town. Clearly intending to leave her 3-year-old with Lauren. I said, not sure if Lauren will be available to accommodate. And my sister-in-law was like, it's only 2 kids. What's the problem? I went to Lauren and said, what do you want here? And she said she'd be fine with it as long as she was paid 50% more, and also was never solely responsible for more than 4 kids outside a house. In other words, it's fine if they're just hanging around, but she wasn't comfortable keeping 7 kids safe at a beach. She was also open to sharing responsibilities with a second babysitter. Sister-in-law's kids are actually pretty easy, which she knows. I told sister-in-law that and gave her the option of covering the 50% increase or covering another babysitter. Sister-in-law was like, well, we can't afford a babysitter for the entire vacation or to pay Lauren. And I don't understand what the big deal is, considering she'd rarely be alone with all 7 kids anyway. There's 5 other adults. Sister-in-law/brother-in-law are doing okay money-wise, but we are significantly more comfortable, so my husband thinks we should just eat the cost of Lauren's additional pay to keep the peace. But I'm really irritated by sister-in-law's attitude. I'd honestly want to just cancel the entire trip at this point, even though flights in the house have already been booked. This feels like a sign of things to come. Not today, home. Lauren is already being kind at a 50% upcharge for twice the work. I'm a nanny and I would double my hourly charge in this situation. Your sister-in-law's the a-hole here thinking that Lauren should watch her child for free. But OP, don't cancel the trip. Use your words and send sister-in-law a text. I completely understand that your budget doesn't include a 50% charge from Lauren, so we've let her know that she doesn't need to watch her kids at all. We'll pay her typical rate. We just want to make it very clear that she is being paid to watch our kids, and we absolutely won't put her in an awkward position where she's expected to watch any other kids, even for a few minutes. I want us to just be able to enjoy the trip and wanted to make sure that's all out in the open before we go. I'd give this a 9 out of 10 chance of backfiring. Sister-in-law will lie, say, okay, fine, and when push comes to shove, it'll be the same, I don't get what's wrong. It's only a few kids. She can take care of them, routine. Opie and Lauren will most definitely have to deal with this. Opie, don't cancel the trip. Just do it without sister-in-law. Not stay home. I have a feeling if you do decide to eat the cost and pay Lauren the extra 50% yourself, you might not have a nanny by the end of the trip, because your sister-in-law will be ordering her around or cross a mother boundary. Exactly this. It's one thing to eat the really fair upcharge, but it's sister-in-law's general attitude that gives me pause. I fully expect that if you eat the cost, that sister-in-law will take that to mean that she has full use, read abuse, of your nanny. I would avoid that. Not stay home. You're protecting your relationship with your family babysitter and her requests are totally reasonable. It's not your responsibility to pay for your sister-in-law to have a sitter. I think canceling your whole trip is a bit dramatic. Instead of clarifying to your sister-in-law that Lauren will not be available for her to use if she's unable to compensate her, and you'll be telling Lauren the same thing is totally reasonable. The main issue being if Opie and spouse go out to dinner, there's nothing to stop the in-laws from leaving Lauren with her kids. Exactly. And Lauren might not be in a position where she feels comfortable saying no, either because of power or it's an inappropriate moment. I feel like usually on a trip like this, there would be a lot of casual shared care, like one parent gets up to grab food for everyone, while the other parent keeps watching the kids play together and disciplines/feeds/monitors/comforts the other set of kids as needed. And if the kids are playing together, it's hard to draw the line or blank the other three. Like when my kids have a friend over, Lauren doesn't refuse to make a second snack or refuse to interact with an 8-year-old because technically she's not paid to do so. There will be times where it's appropriate to say, no, I can't do that, or go get your mom. And we want to empower Lauren to take advantage of those times, but that won't always be the case.